Well, hi once again, everybody. Time for another edition of the 19th Hole Podcast for Golfers. I'm your host, Dennis Silvers. Glad to have you looking today because we got a hell of a great show with a gentleman who's one of my favorite guests, one of my favorite people. Been around golf for a long, long time, knows the game, knows the players, knows the venues. He is absolutely a wealth of knowledge. As you know, our Ryder Cup is coming up very, very soon in beautiful Rome, Italy. We're going to talk about that with our guest because he's very, very involved in that. He authored a top-selling book about the Ryder Cup, so I'm sure we're going to get some great insight from Bob. Bob has a pretty extensive background and biography, so let me just give you a couple of little teasers about our special guest, Bob Bupka. Bob is a professional sports announcer who's been involved, as I say, in the game of golf for decades and decades. Bob is also the author of the aforementioned top-selling book entitled The Ryder Cup, Golf's Greatest Event. Bob has talked and interviewed with more professional tour players than just about anybody I know. He has covered some of the biggest events in golf and has come away with some of the best storylines ever. I mean ever, because he gets inside their head and he's just done some wonderful, wonderful interviews. Anyway, let's get right to it and bring on our special guest, Mr. Bob Bupka. Bob, thank you for coming on. Thank you for taking the time. Always great to have you on, my friend.
Well, thank you, Dennis. And I must apologize. I'm a broken down radio announcer. Now I get an opportunity to be visual, and I forget to shave because I never have to shave my radio shows.
No, you look good. You look good. Don't worry about it. You really do. Bob, you co-authored a great book, as we previously mentioned, the Ryder Cup, about the Ryder Cup. What specifically, Bob, do you think makes the Ryder Cup golf's greatest event? Give us a couple of examples.
Well, there's nothing else like it. I mean, the team atmosphere, the electricity that people feel when they go to a Ryder Cup. And when I talk to a lot of golf fans that have been to a lot of golf tournaments, I always ask them, have you had the opportunity to go to Ryder Cup? And they say no. And I said, that's one thing you have to do because it's completely different.
Yeah.
It's electrifying. The atmosphere, Dennis, on that first tee is beyond description. And that's what, just some of the hype that makes it so great.
Right. No, I agree with you. Do you think that over the years, though, Bob, it's become kind of commercial?
Well, yes. I mean, but there's no way around that. I mean, the bigger it gets commercial, the bigger that it is successful.
Yeah.
It's only commercial because so many people enjoy it, so many people attend it, and so many people, many more people watch it on TV, not only here, but across all of Europe.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely correct. By the way, before we leave that, what gave you the motivation, the idea, the emphasis to write a book about the Ryder Cup?
Well, I got the idea back in 1997, and the captain of the United States team that year was going to be Ben Crenshaw.
Okay.
And I had a pretty good relationship with Ben. I called Ben up and I said, I'm thinking about writing a book on the Ryder Cup. He said, go right ahead, Bob. And one of the biggest thrills I had in their last meeting in the States before they left for that Ryder Cup to go to Massachusetts,
Yes.
Ben Crenshaw said, all right, team, you're fully prepared now, but I want every one of you to go out and get a copy of this Ryder Cup book written by Bob Bupka.
I love it.
Us win. Yeah, I almost fainted, Dennis. I almost fainted.
That is great. That's quite an accolade. That doesn't happen to a whole lot of people. I can tell you that. Uh, Speaking about commercial, Bob, do you think that there's too much money perhaps involved in professional golf right now? And we'll get into the Live Tour thing and the purses and all that thing. But what about the PGA Tour right now and other events? There's a hell of a lot of money being thrown at these players, and I'm not against anybody making money, Bob. Don't misunderstand me, but it seems like it's almost being overdone.
Well, you've been around the game for a long time and have done a great job, Dennis. I think your sentiments probably echo mine. It's too much about money. I mean, this was a gentleman's game, and you almost had to be a gentleman to play it. Now, in order to play it, you need about 5 bankers that work for you to handle all the funds that are going out there.
Right.
I mean, golly, guys win one tournament now, and they win $20 million. 1,000 guys played the PGA Tour and never won $20 million.
Right.
So I think the game, along what you're saying, and I agree wholeheartedly, Dennis, it's changing. I don't like the atmosphere right now. I really don't. I think it's gotten to be too much about money and not enough about the game.
Interesting. And a lot of people feel that way. And it's interesting, Bob, and I'm sure you've got some thoughts on this. When Live Tour first started up, and we had some of our premier players jump over to the Live Tour, and we'll talk about this a little bit later. A lot of the key names were gone, and there was a lot of commentary, Bob, on social media about fans going, hey, I can't even watch this tournament because the big names are gone. I don't recognize half the names on the leaderboard right now, and I don't like it. What's your thoughts about that?
Well, I think you're 100% correct. It's not the product that drew golf fans. I mean, that was the heart and soul of the sport, the golf fan. And now it became too much, especially in the economy that we're in right now, Dennis. People are struggling to even put a decent meal on the table, and they have to turn their TV on and hear about a guy winning $20 million in 1 week's worth of work. It's kind of turned people off. And I really think professional golf is in a very critical area right now. I mean, I like to see Live resolved. I like to see golf becoming back to what you and I loved our whole lives.
Yeah.
And that was a sport that was played by good people. There was good fun. There was always money involved in golf, but it was like a $2 Nassau or a $5 Nassau. Nothing big. I mean, it's tragic what has happened to professional golf, especially over the last 10 years.
I could not agree 100% more with you. Bob, you going back years, you have talked with, you have gotten to know, you have interviewed some of the real greats of the game, like Arnie and Jack and other people. Do you think there'll ever be similar type personalities on the PGA Tour again?
Well, I certainly would hope so, but those are mighty big shoes to fill. I'll share with you one conversation I had. I was privy to be in attendance at the Insperity tournament in Houston, and they used to bring in Arnold Palmer, Jack Nicklaus, Lee Trevino, and Gary Player. And the first year after Arnie passed away, I was with Gary and Jack. And I said to Gary, can you tell me the difference between Arnold Palmer and Jack Nicklaus, with Jack sitting right alongside of us? And Gary says, that's easy, Bob. Arnie loved to play golf. Jack doesn't love to play golf. Jack says, I do so, Gary. Gary said, no, you don't, Jack. And I'm saying, as you could well imagine, this was like radio gold. I got Player and Nicholas arguing about one another. But it was, I had to pinch myself to realize. But Arnold Palmer, golly, the one, the only, the king. They called him that. And in reality, Jack and Arnie really became quite close friends, probably for the last dozen or more years of Arnie's life. And it was always great to see. The one thing I always feared about Arnold Palmer is when I would get close to him, I knew I was going to have to shake his hand, and his hands were so big, I didn't know if I'd get my hand back. Wow. He had such a powerful grip and such a powerful personality.
Yeah, he did. That is for sure. That is for sure. All right, let me ask you this. We'll change topics a little bit. Do you think the Americans, Bob, will ever dominate again on the LPGA Tour? Because I think those days are long gone. What are your thoughts?
Couldn't agree with you more, but it's for a good reason. When Siri Pack first burst on the scene a long time ago, I made the comment back then. I said, within 10 or 12 years, the Asian players are probably going to dominate on the LPGA Tour for a simple reason. They are willing to work harder. If an American player goes out and works 6 hours, an Asian player probably is out there for 10 to 12 hours.
Yeah.
And, talent being relatively equal, the hard work is going to prevail in the end.
Correct.
And we're witnessing that now. The same thing, I'm going to tell you, my friend, is going to happen to the men's tour, because the Asian males are very talented.
Yeah.
They're very dedicated, and work ethic, it's in their blood.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. That's going to be an interesting scenario to see on the men's tour in a few years down. All right, last question before we take our first break, Bob. We talked about money. Do you think there will come a point in time where tournament sponsors, Bob, will start backing away of sponsoring tournaments because of the ever-rising cost of sponsorship? It's getting awfully expensive today, Bob, as you know.
And I'm so glad to hear you taking the side of the sponsors. Just think now, they have this crazy system, the 20 specified tournaments. Players are going to play in those, but if they play in those, they're less likely to play in any of the others. And that's where those sponsors are getting the short end of the stick, because they're putting up good money, but they're not getting the best players. And the PGA Tour really is at fault. I mean, and you can't blame the PGA Tour either, because they have to put up this money. This monster has been created where the players say they want more money.
Right.
And obviously, as you well know, I know I learned that lesson quite a bit in Vegas. No matter how hard you try, you might run out of money soon.
Right.
Because it happened to me many a time there. And that's what's going to happen to the sponsors.
It's all about business. It's all about return on investment. You're right. And the number of people they get out, the viewership, and I just think soon it's going to become a problem. I really do. Anyway, Bob, stay with us. We're going to step away. We're going to take a short break here on the 19th Hole Podcast for Golfers. And when we come back, we will continue with our very special guest, Mr. Bob Bupka. Back right after this. revolutionary Power to Golf club requires no swing to hit golf shots from 50 up to 225 yards. That's right, no swing. It's empowering golfers with physical issues to continue enjoying time golfing with friends and family. With just the push of a button, the easy-to-use Power to Golf club launches shots down the fairway and onto the green. Whether a physical issue or just want to join in on the fun, the Power to Golf club is for you. Visit online, powergolfclub.com. All right, welcome back, everybody. We are back with more of the 19th Hole podcast with our special guest, golf analyst, golf announcer, golf everything, and award-winning author Bob Bupka. Bob, let me ask you this: is there a way? Well, let me reframe that. You've interviewed tons of players on all of our tours over your career. What are some of the traits that you think make one player a better interview over another player?
That's a great question. It's never ever been asked to me. And, it's like the same thing. Why are you so good at doing TV on the internet rather than your next door neighbor or the guy that works in a grocery store? It's a talent, and you're bringing the talent to the forefront. And a lot of players have recognized the value in that interview. Although I must admit this, Dennis, years ago when I started, if I interviewed a player, he thought, well, that would help him generate some more income.
Right.
I would be giving him publicity, and he would need it. But we've slowly evolved now where I can't help a player. I mean, you couldn't help a player. A player coming on your show is not going to make any more money than they're making now, and they don't need any more money.
Right.
So they worried less about doing that interview. But back then, it was kind of a friendship thing, as you alluded to. When you're out there every week and you're on the range with them, you kind of get involved with their families and their caddies and their relatives, and you just become part of the deal. So when it comes to asking them for an interview, they're very happy to do it, as long as you don't take advantage of them, as long as you don't try and get the "I gotcha" moment, which I've seen a lot of times out there. And of course, that relationship would be severed with that member of the media.
Right.
I mean, it never was for me, "I gotcha." It was for me to let them tell their story.
Exactly. No, that's well said, Bob. That's well said. I'm sure that you and I feel the same way about this next comment I'm going to make to you, and I want to get your thoughts about it. I think it's a shame, and I know things are different today, but I still think it's a shame that if you go to a tournament today, Bob, and you walk up and down the line on the range and pick out any of the new players and say, excuse me, let me ask you a question. Who was Kerry Middlecoff? Who was Lionel Hebert? And they look at you like you're coming from outer space. To me, that is a shame. They have no history or feeling of the game back in the day, Bob.
Good point, Dennis. And, longevity has its price. Back in the day of the Bob Hope tournament, I always look forward to having a discussion with Bob Hope. It wasn't too recently that was at a party, and mainly younger people, probably nobody over 30 there. And I mentioned, boy, I always used to enjoy talking to Bob Hope. They said, who? They didn't know who Bob Hope was.
Wow.
So that's the price you pay for getting old in this world. Dennis, get used to it, because what we knew and what we enjoyed, it's not the same.
It's not the same. Yeah, it's still just such a shame that they're not aware of the people that really built up, and advanced the game of golf. It really is, because there was so many great personalities, back then. Anyway, let's talk. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Let me just interrupt 1 minute, because a lot of the players feel that, even back then, if I asked them for an interview, there were the odd one or two that would always say no. I had a automatic response. I'd say, boy, I'm glad, because Jack Nicklaus is waiting for me, and I hate to keep him waiting. So I appreciate that.
I like it.
And to really put it in perspective on how important they think they are, I was doing a tournament at President's Cup. On the first tee was Gary Player and Jack Nicklaus, Dean Beeman, Tim Fincham, the commissioner of the PGA Tour. Also, President Clinton was on the tee, and I was standing alongside of President Bush Sr., and I was nervous. We were standing shoulder to shoulder, and all of a sudden I feel a little nudge in my ribs, and I look over, and President Bush says to me, Bob, isn't this a name dropper's paradise? I said, Mr. President, if you think it's a name dropper's paradise, what am I supposed to think?
That's a great story. That is a great story. Speaking, it just reminded me of something that I want to ask you. You mentioned the President's Cup. What is there about the President's Cup that doesn't get the same vibe or the same type of promotion as the Ryder Cup?
Well, I would think if you saw an attempt to duplicate the Mona Lisa, you'd look at it and say, well, it's just not quite the same as the Mona Lisa. And the President's Cup really was designated and formed because they felt the Ryder Cup was getting too much attention, and they thought they create a duplicate event. But you really can't. It just doesn't work that way. When the Europeans play, they play for a common cause. When the internationals play for on the President's Cup, it's all different countries. They don't even speak the same language most of the time, and it's done relatively well. I've attended two of them that were down in Australia, and they were big successes down there, and I enjoyed it. But it's not the original.
Right.
It's a great imitation, but that's what it is. It's an imitation.
Imitation. No, that's also well said. Do you have any idea, Bob, how many air miles you have?
Well, I know this much. I have flown well over 2 million miles on American Airlines alone.
Wow.
So I enjoyed flying. I had the ability to fall asleep when I flew, and the flight from LA down to Australia was 16 hours, and I couldn't sleep, but I got to watch 4 movies.
There you go. Yeah, I knew it had to be a lot of miles with all the traveling you've done. All right, last question before we take our second break, Bob. I think the Live Tour is here to stay, despite all of the objections, despite all of the hassle coming from the PGA Tour and now coming from some of the people in Congress, the U.S. Congress, about getting involved with the Saudis and so on and so forth. What's your take about it? I think it's here. I think there's going to be some kind of an agreement that's overdue. What's your feeling?
Well, there's one word that answers that question: why they're not only here, but why they're going to be here in the future. and that's 5 letters, Money.
Okay.
And when it first started, I heard a lot of saying, well, Liv's going to run out of money because they're not making any money, but they don't even care to make money. So I did a little investigation into the financial condition of the people behind Live. It came back. They have $720 billion.
Wow.
$720 billion in their war chest. And people also said, well, they're going to run out of oil. And they were right. In 220 years, the Saudis are going to run out of oil. So they got 720 million in cash. They got 220 years of oil. It's here to stay.
It's here to stay.
That's Venezuela's kind of money.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah, I only wish. And I know a couple of players that have gone over to the Live Tour, Patrick Reed being one. And I mean, obviously the money is a huge factor, but there's other reasons as well that we might get into. Anyway, Bob, stay with us. We're going to take another short break here on the 19th Hole podcast, and we come back. We will finish up our show with Mr. Bob Bupka. Stay with us. We're right back after this. One of the perks about being in golf media is that I get to try every club ever made. Of course, like most things, some are better than others. I'm here to tell you that I have found unquestionably the absolute best performing set of irons I have ever played, and my scores show it. Let me introduce you to Grindworks, custom fitted irons that are made to fit your game. Grindworks offers players 3 different styles of irons. You can choose muscle back irons, cavity back irons, and even blades, along with some awesome wedges. And when you purchase your clubs, Grindworks lets you choose the type of shaft you want, the type grip you prefer, and even will adjust the loft and lie of your clubs if needed. That's unheard of. So what are you waiting for? Feel the power and experience and performance of these amazing clubs. Simply go to grindworksusa.com or call 281-651-4046 to order. Trust me, your handicap will love you for it.
As golfers, we want instant gratification when it comes to a better golf swing and playing better golf. Impossible, you say? Not anymore. Golf Boost Artificial Intelligence, AI, has developed and patented the most advanced swing analysis technology in golf. Simply, the algorithms detect your body position and then analyze your golf swing using their artificial intelligence technology. The AI captures all the relevant data from your swing video and then presents you a personalized lesson. Golf Boost AI is the ultimate swing analysis and virtual instruction system for golfers of all ages and abilities. This sophisticated software takes into consideration your height and build, playing level, and returns the ideal solution for your swing. Bottom line, Golf Boost AI is an incredibly convenient and cost-effective tool for golfers to improve their swing. Go to golfboost.com and check it out. The app is free to download and try. Visit golfboost.com today.
All right, welcome back, everybody. We're kind of finishing up the
wonderful relationship. I enjoy the people over there. They broadcast out of London. Ironically enough, and you might find this hard to believe, more people know who I am in Europe than know who I am in America.
I do. That is hard to believe.
By leaps and bounds. By leaps and bounds. By the way, before I forget, you got some wonderful sponsors. I mean, I'm very interested in that club that hits the golf ball. I think that provides a beautiful opportunity for people that, not physically capable of hitting it anymore. Boy, oh boy, congratulations to them. I think they got a great idea.
Yeah.
And now the last one, AI Boost, artificial intelligence and analyzing your swing. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, they are, and they both serve a niche. And I don't know if you know that, Grindworks USA is actually a club company that's owned by Patrick Reed, and they're
Oh,
made
wow.
here. They're phenomenal, phenomenal golf clubs. And you put those clubs together with the new golf ball that is coming out with it's really exciting. And but anyway, thank you for that. I'm sure they're going to be glad to hear that. Of all of the golf courses that you have been to, and you've been to a hell of a lot of them, what's one or two of your favorites and why?
Well, it's such a hard question. I mean, ultimately, if any golfer ever has the opportunity to play St. Andrews, I mean, that's a must. I mean, a golfer playing St. Andrews is a Catholic going to the Vatican. There's just no denying it. And there was a golf course in Spain near Valderrama, Montemayor it was called. It was built on the side of a mountain. It was absolutely fascinating. I don't think it's in existence anymore. And then one of the biggest thrills I had, I was playing in Portugal, Dennis, and the caddy said, the next tee's up this hill, and we get to the top of the hill, and I take my driver out, and I said, where should I aim? And he says, just aim for the Rock of Gibraltar. And there it was out.
Oh, my goodness.
And I said, say that again. He said, aim for the Rock of Gibraltar.
Oh,
I said, man,
incredible.
I never thought I'd hear that.
That is incredible. Yeah, that's one of the advantages of playing the game. You get to travel the world, play some unbelievable golf courses, meet some nice people, and it's absolutely fantastic. Anyway, I want to get
Dennis,
back. Go ahead.
I just want one more golf course that
Sure.
I thought I wanted to play until I got there. And this was in Scotland. It's Tom Watson's favorite golf course. It's called Cruden Bay. And Janice Self, who you know well, been my partner in life and in business for the past 27 years, said, come on, we'll go in this entrance, which was a little out of the way over the normal entrance. But as we go in, I see these plaques on the wall for club champions. And I see the name, Janice Self. And then I see it again, Janice Self. She was a multi-club champion at Cruden Bay at Tom Watson's favorite golf course.
That's pretty damn good. That's pretty good. So she was a very good player.
Well, she won the Northern Scottish Amateur a couple of times. She won
Wow.
the City of Houston a couple of times. And she really told me a long time ago, and I think you'll agree with this, golf is the passport to the world.
Yeah, I do agree with that. I absolutely agree with that. Before I let you go, what's on the horizon for you work-wise? And I know that you have kind of a special podcast coming up, don't you? Tell us about that.
Well, it's called Musings on Golf. I do it with a good friend of mine, Kelly Elbin, who used to be the communications director for the PGA Tour. His father, Max Elbin, was president of the PGA of America for 50 years. And we have a lot of fun doing that show. And, of course, my next big event on Talk Sport is going to be the Ryder Cup. We're looking forward to that. It gives me a chance to counterpunch my European partners over there that are dying for Europe to win, and I'll be begging for the U.S. to win, but I think maybe this year they're going to prevail again.
I do too. I mean, I think they're highly underrated, Bob. I mean, everybody is pro-America. I get that, but the Europeans have a wonderful, wonderful team, as you know, and anything can happen. And I'm telling people, don't be afraid to put a few bucks on the Euros winning this thing.
I wonder who the favorite is in Vegas, the U.S. or Europe?
The U.S.
It is?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't agree with that.
For some reason, but they've got McIlroy, John Rahm, Tommy Fleetwood, Matthew Fitzpatrick. I mean, not the Americans are any slouches or anything, but that's what makes the competition really, really, really good. So anyway, Bob, I'm going to let you go. Thank you so much for your time, for the information. Always great having you on, my friend. Good luck with the Ryder Cup. And, of course, we're going to have you back sooner than later.
I appreciate it, Dennis, and I promise you I'll shave next time.
No, you look just fine. You look just fine. Thanks, Bob.
Thank you, Dennis.
Bob Bupka, everybody. Just a great, great guy. All right, we're going to step away, take one more short break. We're going to come back and close up the show. Stay with us. The Revolutionary Power to Golf Club is helping golfers around the world continue to enjoy the greatest game of all. This amazing club requires no swing to hit shots from 50 up to 225 yards. That's right, no swing to hit shots, including fades, draws, low shots, as well as high ones. One incredible club does it all. Golfers with a wide variety of physical issues, including bad backs, hips, shoulders, and more, are now back in the game golfing with friends and family. Just set the club to the desired distance, and with a push of the button, the easy-to-use Power to Golf Club launches shots down the fairway and onto the green. The Power to Golf Club has been endorsed by some of the biggest names in golf, and the number of golfers enjoying the game by use of our unique technology continues to grow. Whether a physical issue or just want to join in on the fun, the Power to Golf Club is for you. Don't be left on the sidelines. Get back in the game today. Visit at powergolfclub.com. Hi, I'm Dennis Overs, host of the 19th Hole Podcast for Golfers, and I'm here to tell you about some great wedges and putters from Grindworks USA. First, the Grindworks Barrett Collection Wedge Set. These wedges are unparalleled in today's market. The wedges come to you in 3 different lofts, 51, 57, and 61 degrees, all designed to be able to spin around the greens with the ability to hit high, middle, or low shots around the greens. Grindworks also makes a line of their Windsor Wells precision machine putters. This beautiful design of putter was not only created to be appealing to the eye, but to perform better on the greens. You will gain a ton of confidence to help lower your scores. Go to grindworksusa.com or call 281-651-4046. I promise your scores will love you for it. All right, welcome back, everybody. We hope you enjoyed the show. Bob is a great guy, great guest, very, very knowledgeable. We'll have another terrific show for you next week, I promise. And by the way, some breaking news. Encore Golf has come out with another new golf ball, and they also have another one that is just about to be released called the Genius Ball. And when you hear about this, you're going to absolutely be amazed. It's absolutely fantastic. Anyway, the weather here in Vegas is summer's kind of over. Instead of 110, we're down to the upper 80s, 90. Beautiful, beautiful golf weather. So we hope it's the same in your part of the country. So until next week, keep it in the short stuff. We'll see you back. So long.